The Clone Saga is one of the most notoriously amazing and horrible series within Marvel Comics, which happened in the late 90s. But it seems like the name Clone Wars always drums up sales. Therefore, Marvel is always making new Clone Wars, and it's time to start the Clone Wars for Miles Morales. We're also going to be continuing our adventures of Silk and looking into a little indie known as Shadowman. This is the Comicstorian channel, where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues, and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective company. Now, as I said at the beginning, today we're going to be doing Miles Morales issue number 25, which is the beginning of a brand new story arc for Miles following the King in Black storyline, the first issue of the Clone Wars. Then we're going to be continuing our storyline for Silk, who I'll explain a little bit better when we get to her comic. And then we're going to dive into our Indie of the Week. From a company known as Valiant Comics, they have started up a brand new Shadowman run. So we're going to cover issue 1. So let's get into it. Let's start off with Miles Morales, issue 25. Miles scrolls through the news feed on his phone, and his mother Rio says that it's all over the news. They've been so worried. Jefferson says that everyone is stating that Spider-Man kidnapped a scientist, robbed a warehouse, and Miles tells him that that's crazy. He'd never. But then there's a knock at the door. Rio opens it up, and Genki walks in with Miles asking where has he been. It's been days. With a slightly worried look, Genki tells him that he's sorry. He came by to talk to him about something important. Miles holds up his phone, telling him that it's all good. He's already seen it. And Genki reads, Spider-Man kidnaps a scientist. What the heck is this, Miles? Miles says, wait, that's not what you came here for? Either way, someone's out there imitating me. Not just my costume, but my powers. It's gotta be that clone that the Assessor grew. But I thought that we destroyed it. Genki looks through his phone, stating that it could be him, but he'd need a laptop to dig through it all. A few moments later, up in Miles' room, Genki looks through the web, stating that he robbed that laboratory and snagged the Oscorp DNA sequencer OS-40 specifications thing. Miles looks at his phone, telling him, yeah, he also stole that stuff from Dr. Alok Gupta, having to do with whatever reptid peptide synthesis is. Genki leans in, telling him, yeah, whatever that is, it's definitely something to do with cloning. Miles asks how though. Uncle Aaron called the clone a burner, disposable. Even if it survived me smashing its head in, it should be dead, Genki. Genki tells him that maybe the creep Assessor grew another clone, who knows. But what he does know is that the scientist that the clone kidnapped won't be of any use without some sort of proprietary tech that they helped develop, meaning that it tells them where the clone is going to go next. As Miles suits up, he tells Genki that they're the best. And then Genki's phone buzzes. Miles grabs it to hand it over, but that's when he sees a text, and it's from Barbara, with a whole lot of kiss emojis. Genki says that he wanted to tell Miles back when the symbiote dragons attacked. Barbara and he are sort of a thing. Miles asks, is this why you've been dodging me? Unbelievable. As Miles grabs and slams Genki into a wall, Genki tells him to take his hands off him. Miles pulls back, telling him he's gotta go. Explain this to my folks, okay? Later, Miles arrives at the location that Genki sent him, the one where the clone is probably going to attack, but it would seem that Miles is too late. Miles crawls through the broken window and sees two scientists asking if they're hurt. One of them screams not to cut him again, and the second says, we told you everything! Please, just leave! Miles asks, wait, what? No. At that moment, his spider sense goes off, and Peter swings in, kicking him. Leave the scientists alone! Miles jumps up, hey, wait! But Peter asks, what have you done with the real Spider-Man? As Peter continues his attack, Miles turns on his camouflage, telling him those are some stupid powers. And as Peter keeps swinging, Miles keeps ducking, asking, how are you even seeing me? Peter says that it comes with experience. No substitute for that, clone! Miles shocks Peter. Cool, but I could do this! Peter stumbles and Miles looks at him. Look, I'm sorry, we're like brothers, but I don't have time for this! The fake is out there, and I can't let him hurt any more people while we're messing around. Peter shakes off the stun. Ugh, you sound like the other Spider-Man. Whatever the heck you are you the real you? Miles tells him that he still has that crappy birthday card that he bought him last time someone was attacking labs in Brooklyn, when they ruined his desk. His mom is still a bit salty about that one, by the way. Tell your mother I'm sorry, Miles. And sorry about the hit. Thought you were the imposter, Miles. One of the unharmed scientists then says, "If you guys really aren't with that other Spider-Man, then you need to start doing something." The injured one tells them that the guy with the knives is threatening the others. They need to stop him. Miles pauses. Knives? And he turns to web out the window, telling Peter that they need to hurry and pick up the trail. It doesn't take long to see another web slinger leaping over buildings, but as the two get close, they hear it make a noise as it says glurp. As the three land on a building, the clone unmasks his face and they see it's dripping. Glurp! Miles asks, how did he get behind us? And Peter tells him that the clone looks like he has something in, But as Peter gets closer, the clone wildly swings, extending his goopy arm out to grab him. Miles asks how can he do that? I can't do that! And Spider-Man coughs, now you know how I feel that you could shoot lightning! The clone then whips Peter into a wall, taking Miles and slams him into the ground. Miles gets up telling him, forget this! I got something that'll make this thing sit still. He charges up, giving the clone a fully powered up venom blast, but a third arm pops out of the clone's chest, grabbing Miles by the throat. As Spider-Man jumps to his feet, webbing up the clone's arms, he yells to Miles that if they web this thing up enough, he won't be able to gloop his way out. A few moments later, and a lot of webbing, Miles looks at the clone as it yells, glurp! Miles tells him that they're going to stop this. No more wearing his face, no more putting dirt on his name. The clone begins to laugh, and as Miles balls up his fist, Peter grabs him, yelling, hey, Spider-Man doesn't hit people or slim clones even when they're tied up. Just then, the smoke begins to fill the area with both Miles and Peter falling to their knees, coughing. Miles sees through the smoke that the clone is now swinging away. And as he goes to check on Peter, he sees that this must be hitting him a lot harder. Peter weakly sits up. You gotta go after him, buddy. But Miles tells him to stay back. He's hurt. Besides, this is my fight. Get home, Peter. Spider-Man coughs. You aren't gonna get rid of me that easily. I just need a minute. Miles begins to swing through the city looking for where the clone went, but he notices people in the streets staring up at something. Miles lands on a nearby building, looking around, asking what has them all scared, but before he could even guess, an arm swings, catching Miles in the chin. He tries to shake it off as his spider sense begins to go crazy, and then a second punch hits him. Miles falls to his knees, holding his side as a voice tells him, I've softened him up enough, brothers. Miles looks back at another Miles holding knives, telling him, my name is Salim, and these are my brothers. It's time that we talked. Behind Salim is the Gloopy clone, as well as a second spider-like clone. The Miles clones have entered the fray. Make sure you check back every Friday or Saturday to see where this story is going, but next we're going to talk about Silk, issue number 2. Silk is a character who was bitten by the same spider that bit the original Peter Parker, but she was told that somebody's going to come and try to take away her and her family and kill them all. So they hid her away in a vault. She finally broke free a couple of years ago and is now learning to readjust to normal human lives, and she works at a BuzzFeed-style news organization run by J. Jonah Jameson. So last time, Cindy signed on at Threats and Menaces to try and have a normal life, but she quickly got swept up into a more mysterious situation than she could ever count on. One of her co-workers, Derek, got a lead on a murder scene that resulted in several gang members being killed, only to find out that the gang was actually targeted for a very specific reason. As Cindy sits at her desk looking at how well her last story was received, Derek tells her that he got some information from his source that the cannibals are having an emergency meeting. You want in? Cindy tells him, I can't. I get a meeting with finance, but where's this going down? Derek gets ready, telling her it's at the Level Up arcade. As Cindy tells him to be safe, he asks what could possibly go wrong with a bunch of murderous criminals. When Derek gets into the street, Cindy sneaks out in costume, following him to the arcade, but once Derek gets inside, a dead body flops in front of him. As he begins to scream, Silk jumps in, webbing up his face, telling him that she's going to need him to be quiet and not draw any attention. Wondering what could have done this, Silk turns back to see a giant cat creature asking the other gang members if they have anything to say. Derek begins to try and speak, but Silk grabs him, throwing him into the closet, telling him that she's sorry, but she'll come back to this when it's all over. The cat creature tells the cannibals that it's like they said, you can join or die. One of the thugs yells that they aren't going to let some pussycat threaten them, and they begin to charge in. The creature swipes, knocking several of the gang members back while tearing into one of their stomachs. Before the creature has a chance to strike again, Silk webs up an arcade cabinet, throwing it at the creature, telling them, these guys really need to work on their cat-related insults. The creature stands back, telling Silk, and you should mind your own business. See, that's the thing. Everything that happens in this neighborhood is my business, you scary, muscular tabby. The cat slams its claws into the ground just as Silk jumps out of the way. The creature lashes out, hitting Silk from behind, launching her into a skee-ball machine. Silk webs up the ceiling, stating that they're going to have to try this again, but the cat reaches out, grabbing her, telling her, "I warned you to mind your own business!" And Silk says, "That's fair. You did warn me!" But before the creature could deliver the final blow, the cannibals rush in with chairs and knives, hitting and cutting the creature. Silk bounces backwards, throwing web balls at the cat, telling the guys, "Thanks! But the webbing isn't going to slow down the creature, and he's going to start taking out more of your gang members." Silk jumps in, delivering a kick to the cat's head, and the cat yells, "This isn't over!" Silk tries to catch her breath and recovers from a definitely cracked rib, stating that she knows it ain't over until the cat lady sings. But while she's recovering, the cat creature returns to Seiya Ishii of Fujinet, stating that they have a problem. Seiya sits up from her pedicure, saying that they look like they need a band-aid or two. Creature tells her, "Never mind that, it's just a nuisance. However, it's getting to be a consistent nuisance. It's the pesky little superhero Silk. She interfered during our talk with J. Jonah Jameson as well." Seiya says, "Why are we worried about her? Don't we have a literal demon army at our beck and call? Silk has been a superhero for like 5 seconds. You're a powerful cat demon straight out of Japanese myth." The creature says, "You know who should actually be worried? Your father. They'd thought you'd grow into a natural leader like he was." Seiya says, "Well, father is a brain sitting in a jar now, so that's not exactly #goals." The next day at work, Derek tells his take on the story of what happened when Jonah comes up with a great idea. Instead of waiting for this cat thing to kill all the gangs, they should contact all the gangs and get them to work together. Otherwise, they won't stand a chance against a cat demon thing. Cindy tells him that it sounds pretty dangerous, but Jonah tells her it's okay. "We'll have Silk mediate, of course." After taking in some pain medication, Silk heads out to one of the first group of gangs, which happens to be meeting in a bathhouse. Yeah, a bunch of naked men screaming and yelling at each other. Great teamwork. This will defeat a demon cat. The next day, Cindy takes a break from work and crime fighting to meet with her therapist so that she has someone to talk about superhero things with. However, when she goes to see Dr. Sinclair, the receptionist tells her that Dr. Sinclair actually had a family emergency, so there will be somebody else meeting with her today. Cindy says that she can't just start seeing some rando, but the receptionist tells her to relax and just give it a try. Cindy begins to state that she doesn't know, and a good-looking man opens the door asking, "Cindy?" Cindy looks over. Yes? "Hi, I'm ready for you now. My name is Max. I'm your new therapist." Cindy begins to blush, walking into the room as the receptionist tells her to have a good session. Dr. Sinclair knew everything about her and Silk, but there's no way that she's going to tell all of these things to the new guy. So Cindy talks about her new job at Threats and Menaces, and about these strings of murders and how all of these guys are wearing some high-tech earpieces from a company called Fujinet. She rattles on for hours, and before she knows it, Max tells her that they've run out of time, with Cindy telling him, I talked a lot, huh? Max tells her it's perfectly okay, that's what his job is. So Cindy smiles and leaves, with Max closing the door and making a call on his cell. Elsewhere, Seiya picks up the phone asking, "What's up, Brother Bear?" Max asks what's up with him. "What's up with you? Are you involved in these gang murders?" Seiya tells him to just calm down, and Max yells at her, "No! This favor you're asking of me, taking Cindy Moon as a patient? She knows you're involved with the murders. That's why you have me doing this." Seiya says, "Well, obviously," and Max sighs. "You must get your sociopathy from your father. Just please tell me you're not doing anything stupid. Cindy also mentioned you have a demon cat working for you?" Seiya tells him not to worry about her, she's got everything under control. And elsewhere, the cat demon creature sits in a candle-lit cave, chanting something in a strange language as a person lays an altar before them. Cindy's adventures will continue right here at the channel. Make sure you check back every Friday or Saturday to see if we're covering the next issue yet. But now we're going to move to the company Valiant and their brand new start for a superhero known as Shadowman. This is Shadowman Issue 1. The Dead Side, the space between worlds. A boneyard echo of the living realm, a reflection hidden behind the veil. A veil that you can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. The veil of reality. Deep down in our souls, we all know that there's darkness, real darkness out there, under our beds, in the eyes of strangers, just around the corner, but the veil protects us. If it were to ever be revealed in all of its ugly glory, the truth might murder us. For nearly a week, one of those truths has been slaughtering people on the streets of New Orleans. Always masqueraders, innocents. But as the truth swings at Jack Boniface as the Shadowman, it screams asking, "Where is she? Where is she hiding?" Shadowman recovers from the knockback stating, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I am fairly certain that all these people that you mutilated didn't know either." As Shadowman materializes his scythe once more, the creature shouts, "You're lying! She was summoned to this world of meat and blood." As the creature goes on, the darkness binds its arms and Shadowman swings, tearing into the creature's neck. The veil between the worlds is not easily crossed. Sometimes, though, a bit of nastiness from beyond slips through. And when that happens, Jack is sort of the cleanup crew. Jack is Shadowman. As the creature falls back, holding its neck, he begs Shadowman to please help him find her. "Help her! She is not ready for the horrors of your world!" Shadowman tells him, "I'm going to need a little bit more to go off of. If you had stopped killing innocent people, you might have been able to help too. But now..." The creature's skin soon begins to harden and crack, and with a gust of wind, it floats off. Shadowman asks, "Who are we looking for? I wouldn't even know where to start." But then a voice tells him that he does. Shadowman looks over stating, "Baron Samedi, are you still following me? I thought I told you to steer clear." The undead skeleton tips his hat. "Come now, Jack. Someone needs to keep you out of trouble. Baron Samedi is the king of death. I am not your friend. I've been manifesting a lot lately, offering advice. Kind of like telling secrets like a confidential informant." Shadowman says that if that is his goal, then he is doing a terrible job. Shadowman looks at the dust and he sighs. "I had a gig tonight. Should have known it wasn't going to work out." Samedi smiles as much as a skeleton could, stating, "Well, you still have a gig. Maybe not what you had in mind, but important just the same, Jack. Unless, of course, you don't care to know who's responsible for your demonic friend's bloody visit." Shadowman tells him, "If you have something useful, let's get on with it." And Samedi laughs. "Not to get your shadow lords tied in a knot. After all, I have a party to attend to." Later, outside the high-class home, Samedi says that the guests here are part of one of those murder parties. Normally, they'd wreak havoc on property values, but this one is hosted by one Elizabeth Montague. Her and her late husband used to throw the most diabolical soirees. They danced a time or two. Looks like she's back to her old tricks, judging by the security that she has out front. Nothing ruins demonic rituals like uninvited guests. That's where you come in, Shadowman." Jack tells him, "Hey fellas, not here to start any trouble or anything," but then one of the guards stabs him, telling him that he needs to take a hike before he gets himself hurt. That's the thing with Jack though, even without his Loa, he's still a bit more than human. Stronger, faster. Darkness itself bending to his will. He turns punching the guard who grabbed him, but before the others can even realize what's happening, Jack knocks them out as well. Once inside, Jack sees everyone wearing masks, surveying the place when a waiter walks up with cups of red liquid. He grabs one, smelling it. This is blood, but it's not human blood. These people are trying to get a taste of hell. But this isn't where the action is. It's deeper inside. Jack slips into the hallway where only the VIPs can go, and he can smell it in the air. It's musty, stale, but it tingles. He steps back into the Shadowman, saying that the stink of inhuman blood seasons the ether. It smells of potential. Inside the back room, Elizabeth stands bathing people in blood, shouting, "You're anointed! You will be my pioneers! You will be the first to see the other side! You need to take a step!" Shadowman watches as they are trying to breach the barrier between the earthly realm and the dead side. Each mirror hung up is a window, looking at a different aspect of another realm. But seeing it is not the same as touching it. They hear the siren's call of the forbidden, some that he himself knows all too well. These people are bolstered by pomp and ceremony. They don't know what they've gotten themselves into. This isn't ritual, it's sacrifice. The dead side is forbidden, and while he can cross it freely, most others who try get chewed up and spat out. As the first person who stepped through the mirror is thrown into a grotesque mess, Elizabeth begins to worry. They used blood from something else to mask their passage, but masks don't hide who you truly are, and now the dead side is using the same tricks. As the once human man begins to swell and grow, he explodes, releasing a swarm of locusts that begin to bite the flesh off the others, attracted by the blood that they have covered themselves in. While Elizabeth is bitten, she shouts that this is wrong. This is not what I was promised! The people aren't cultists, they aren't practitioners, they aren't sightseers, they are deprived rich folk looking for a big thrill. Fools at a zoo, daring each other to jump the fence into the lion's domain. Food for the dead side! As Shadowman summons his scythe, he tells those still alive to run. Whipping the darkness in his hand, he shatters some of the mirrors. The black void into the dark side begins to suck the locusts back in, but there's still more to be done here. Shadowman follows into the room where Elizabeth ran into, finding her flesh mostly gone and dead. But beneath her, a dead-side creature similar to the one earlier lifts its head from its chains, stating, "These people, they summoned me, harvested our blood, but you came to rescue me." Shadowman tells it, "That is not why I'm here." The creature goes on, stating that they were called, they thought that they were blessed, that this world would live up to the stories, that it would almost be heavenly, but that was a lie! It's just an illusion! Shadowman raises his scythe, telling the creature, "Yeah, unfortunately," and he swings. He walks back out to see all the party goers cleared out rather quickly. Guess that's what happens when you see a bunch of naked, blood-soaked people boiling out of a basement screaming about bugs from hell. Too bad. The band was pretty good. As Shadowman picks up the saxophone, he can feel something. Something has also seeped through. However, just a glimpse and she's gone. And if he didn't know any better, he might have thought that it was a figment of his imagination. Whoever she is, he knows deep down that he will see her again. As Shadowman leaves, Samedi calls out asking why the face. "You look like you seen a ghost." Shadowman tells him all day, every day, only this was different. It wasn't someone who was dead, it was like someone being born. Samedi laughs. "You are more right than you knew. This place is a blight, a weak spot between our world and the worst parts of the dead side. These blights are spreading, multiplying, some would say. Sooner or later, the veil will become so weak, it will no longer be able to hold the dead side back. One reality will drown the other." Shadowman then asks, what are they waiting for? Let's go find the others. And there you guys have it. Miles Morales' Clone Saga, the continued adventures of Silk, and another book known as Shadowman. The links to all of these will be down below. You can get your hands on them yourself. If you want to know what's going on with Shadowman, follow along with the Valiant run. See what's going on over there. Don't forget, if you want to vote on the long-form stories that we're still bringing to the channel, make sure you go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian. You will get to vote on all the stories, such as Batman Inc., Vision, Winter Soldier, Dead Man Logan, those kinds of stories. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. We always appreciate it, and I will see you next time right here.